Don't be afraid. Come out and play with me, my 2-year-old daughter said to an empty kitchen.
From forgotten folklore to hidden histories, some records demand to be found.
3 homes in Hong Kong, 3 families. Each one moved in believing the house was empty, and each one learned, too late, that something was already living there. In 1989, I moved to Sai Kung, Hong Kong's scenic seaside haven, known for its islands, beaches, and fishing villages. A friend was moving away, so they rented the whole house to me. It was a village house on the outskirts, with the nearest neighbors a good distance away. But it had a garden. It was big, beautiful, comfortable. I was a young woman, living alone. In the first week, I kept feeling that someone was watching me sleep. I was used to living alone, so I wasn't scared, but the feeling was deeply unsettling. One night, I watched myself get up. My mind was clear. I saw myself get up and walk out to the living room. On the far wall of the living room, there was an image, like a hole in the wall, and a woman stepped out of that hole. She wore a long yellow robe. Her head was lowered, and her hair hung the same length in front and behind. At first, she was blurred. Then she slowly came into focus, until she stood in front of me as real as a person. I wanted to move, but I couldn't. I wanted to speak, but I couldn't. She slowly raised one hand. At the same time, she lifted her face. Her whole face was horribly burned. She said, "Everyone I loved would die." I startled awake. I was lying in my bed after all. I told myself it was just a dream. But from that day on, I didn't dare be alone in the house. After work, I'd ask colleagues to come keep me company. I had moved in during the 7th lunar month. I'm from the New Territories, and on the 14th of the 7th month, the night the gates of the underworld open, you have to burn paper offerings. That day, around 7 in the evening, I asked a few friends to burn offerings with me. 6 of us in total, 3 men and 3 women. As we were burning, we heard a voice singing, very soft, like a children's rhyme, not truly mournful, but the notes stretched on and on, long enough to make you deeply uncomfortable. Not quite terrifying, but everyone heard it. And when we looked around, there was no one anywhere near. The house was fenced with wire mesh. In front was an empty lot for parking. Beyond that was an old field, once planted with vegetables, now abandoned, just grass soaked in water. The singing came from over there. 2 of the women suddenly started pulling on me, saying, "Let's go, don't burn anymore." Besides the 2 women, one of the men also said we should stop. But I didn't think much of it. I just felt we had to finish burning what was left. 2 of my friends couldn't take it and went back inside first. The others started going in too. In the end, I was the only one left, and I finished burning everything before I went back in. The moment I came in, my friends locked all the doors and turned on every light in the house. One of them asked me, "Did you see it?" A woman holding a child by the hand standing across the field, watching us burn things. I said, "No, I didn't see that. It's pitch black out there. There's only a street light far off casting a little faint light. You can't see anything. How could you see clearly?" My friend said, "I'm sure of it. A woman and a child, one tall and one short." That night, no one dared to leave the house. After that, I kept asking people to come with me. If no one was free, I didn't dare go back. I have a younger brother who studies a traditional Chinese divination practice. I asked his master for help. After the house was sealed, I thought I was safe. But my boyfriend died unexpectedly. We had planned to go out the next day, but when the day came, I couldn't reach him. Then I saw it in the newspaper. He had been hit and killed by a car. He came to my house all the time. We were so close. I couldn't bear to wonder whether the curse had taken him because he came to the house so often. So I told the master. He said he'd place a protective seal on me too. Then he told me, "Don't be afraid, it won't touch you." Another month passed. One night, someone broke in to rob the place. I was slashed once. The thief thought I'd passed out and went into the room to look for things. I crawled slowly into the bathroom and hid. The moment he heard the door close, he kicked at it. I kept tearing at the ventilation fan opening. Finally, I squeezed through it. I dropped down to the street and ran. then lay flat and hid in the grass of the hill behind. Only after I heard the sound of cars pulling away did I dare get up and call the police. It was past 3 in the morning. At first light, the police took me back to where I had hidden. That was when we saw it. A black patch, shaped like the charred outline of a person. The grass around it was green. Only that one spot was blackened, shaped like a person, as if it had been burned. And I had been lying right on top of it. Even the police said they couldn't understand it. Not even 3 months from the day I moved into that night. After that, I moved out right away. If not for the master, I might have died long ago. When I was small, my mother rented a room where a boy kept riding a bicycle around inside the house, and no one else could see him. I was so scared I refused to go home. So my parents sent me to Chai Wan, the eastern tip of Hong Kong Island, where the old public housing estate stood, to live with my grandparents and my uncle. The estate's been torn down now. We lived on the 5th floor of Block 5. I was young then, and most of what I know, I learned later. One night, the whole family was asleep. At dawn, the police suddenly knocked on the door, asking if someone had jumped from the building. We thought it was strange. Those public housing flats were tiny. I slept in the same room as my grandmother. My uncle and grandfather slept in the living room. When my uncle looked over, he realized grandfather was gone. He had gone out the 5th floor window. Below was a small basketball court, fenced in with wire mesh. Grandfather fell all the way down and escaped serious injury, just a graze on his toes from the wire mesh and a twisted ankle. But because someone had called the police, he had to go to the hospital to be checked. He'd fallen from the 5th floor, and he was basically fine. But grandfather kept saying, "I didn't jump. Someone threw me off the building." We thought he'd hit his head and was talking nonsense. But he never seemed low, never showed any sign of being suicidal. Then, the next afternoon, someone knocked on the door. It was a girl from the building opposite. She said her father had seen it that morning. My grandfather was lifted up in midair, carried sideways, and pushed out through the window, and only then did he fall. The sight made her father faint. Only a basketball court separated the 2 blocks. From his balcony, the father had seen it clearly. Only then did we believe it. Grandfather hadn't lied. There really was something that threw him out. Grandfather was a Christian who didn't hold superstitious beliefs, and he said he had truly seen someone throw him. The truth was, the flat had always been haunted. Basically, anyone who came in would see her, a woman. When we moved in, we hadn't done any rituals. No one had told us what had happened in this house, so we had no defenses. Once, my uncle brought some friends home. When they came in, someone was talking loudly, and a friend immediately said, "Keep it down. His mother is sleeping in the bedroom." My uncle froze because he knew there was no one else in the house. They plucked up the courage and went into the room, and they all saw a woman lying on the bed. They all ran out in fright. I saw her once myself. She was dressed all in red, with blood running from her eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. Around the time grandfather had his accident, my uncle, who was trained in spiritual practices, called in fellow practitioners. For the first time in my life, I heard a man's voice turn into a woman's voice mid-sentence. They said it was a spirit possessing someone. My grandmother believed in every god, and said sharp objects could ward off evil. So we had scissors hanging all over our room, but the woman wouldn't leave. Masters came, but none of them could drive her out. Later we learned she wasn't alone. On the floor above, there was also a very tall female spirit who liked wearing high heels. If you walked, she'd match your steps behind you. If you ran, she'd run after you. Nothing ever went right for our family while we lived there, and we had one accident after another. Once, my uncle was chatting with a friend on the open ground between the 2 blocks, the place where the neighbors gathered to talk and even sat down to eat. A stranger rushed over and struck my uncle in the head with an axe. There was always something happening in that house. When we finally had the means to move, we moved away, and our luck seemed to have improved. The estate was later torn down. I think the woman never left that block, until the day the block itself was demolished. My sister rented a flat. The first time she went to view it, She didn't really like it, but my brother-in-law loved it and insisted on taking it, so in the end, they signed the lease. The flat was in an upscale residential area in Hong Kong. For a while, nothing unusual happened. At the time, my brother-in-law had gone abroad for work, so it was just my sister, her 2-year-old daughter, and the maid at home. My sister's TV had a sensor, the kind that beeps a few times when a child gets too close to protect against radiation. One day, my sister was sitting watching TV. No one passed in front of the television, and the sensor suddenly beeped a few times. She didn't think much of it. She figured it was broken, but things were getting stranger. The 2-year-old was always playing by herself in the hallway. She'd take a ball, toss it, and catch it again, as if she were playing catch with someone. She was having a wonderful time. One day, my sister said to her, "Don't play like that. Who are you having so much fun with?" She didn't answer. This went on for a while, and my sister began to feel something was truly wrong, that some spirit must be playing with her daughter. One night, my sister was watching TV again, and the sensor went off. My sister started to get angry. She snapped, "If there's something here, come for me instead. Leave my daughter alone." That night, things got much worse. After dark, the maid went into her room. My sister heard a sudden loud bang from the kitchen, like someone slamming a door with force, bang after bang, until the whole flat shook. And my sister started hearing the sound of many footsteps coming from the direction of the kitchen, but she was too terrified to leave the room. The next night, my sister saw her daughter playing again. Both scared and angry, my sister told her to stop playing with the ball and go back to the living room. Her daughter suddenly looked at the kitchen, where there was no one, and said, "Don't be afraid. Come out and play with me." My sister's skin crawled. Her daughter even knew the name of the thing. She could call it by name. My sister couldn't take it anymore and came over to sleep at my place. My flat had been haunted once before by the spirit of a child. I'd had a spiritual master deal with it, and nothing had happened since. So when my sister said my house had something in it, I didn't believe her. But the next day, my sister asked me, "Is your master any good? At night when I go to the toilet, I keep feeling surrounded by that smoky haze." I didn't feel it myself. I wondered to myself, why would my sister feel smoke when I didn't? But she was so scared, so I went to see the master again. The master said, "It's the one your sister scolded. After she yelled at it, it followed her here. Put a talisman on the kitchen window and don't do anything else. It'll leave on its own, because you didn't bring it here, your sister did." After the talisman went up, one night I was half asleep and saw a woman standing at the door of my bedroom, looking at me with a pitiful expression. She was a beautiful woman, with straight hair cut all one length. She just stood there, watching me. She didn't touch me, didn't bother me. She was just there, watching me. I startled awake, and she was gone. I looked over at my sister's room and saw her door closed. I thought maybe she couldn't get into my sister's room, so she stood at my door instead. The next day, I told my sister, "You brought something back with you." I described the woman's hairstyle and appearance. My sister was surprised I knew how the woman looked. I explained she stood at my door and watched me last night. We were both very scared, but the master had said the talisman would be enough, so we decided to wait a couple of days and see. The next night, I was afraid I'd see her again, and a little annoyed at my sister for bringing something unclean into my home. So I opened my sister's door, and I kept my own door shut. The next morning, my sister scolded me for a long time. I thought to myself, she stood there looking at me so pitifully. Maybe she wanted me to burn an offering for her. But my master said to do nothing, that burning something might make it worse. So we did nothing. A few days later, the thing finally left on its own. We never saw it again. History only leaves us the fragments. The rest lives in the shadows. Thank you for exploring these dark corners with me tonight. If you enjoy where folklore meets history, hit that like button and subscribe to join the circle for our next tale.